Hello, Matthew Williams here, bringing you a little video on the implications of ANPR cameras, because some people are saying to me, well, what does it all mean, Matt? What does it all mean? Can you explain a bit more detail? And well, the best thing I can do is kind of give you the information which is on the Big Brother is Watching website and expand a little bit upon it more of what I feel. Sorry if I still haven't shaved. Some people are pissed off that I haven't shaved today, but I'm going to eventually. Anyway, so www.bigbrotheriswatching.co.uk is the website, and you should find some really interesting information there, which you can read for yourself. That's this website here, Big Brother is Watching. Okay, now if you go to the page which is called Freedom of Information Requests, which is up here, then you will see this page, and you can scroll down, and basically it gives a summarization, and I'll scroll in a little bit more so you can kind of see what's going on. But basically the gentleman has made requests, many of which have been either refused or partially answered or answered, and some more which have been refused. So basically to see what questions he asked, I'll talk you through it and I'll tell you what I think some of this stuff means. So basically his question was, how many types of these cameras have been installed in Northern Ireland? Q2 is, how many in total will eventually be installed in Northern Ireland? Q3, who are they being installed for? Q4, what do these types of cameras detect? Q5, what information is collected by these cameras? Q6, who collects the information they collect? Q7, who else has access to the information they collect? Q8, how long is the information they collect held for? Q9, who has financed the installation? Q10, how much will the total installation cost? Q11, what is the expected annual cost to run and maintain these cameras? And Q12, what procedure is followed when these cameras detect an offence? Now, the first thing you should note is that when you ask a lot of questions to a Freedom of Information Act request, that's when you tend to get the Freedom of Information Act request denied, because they will say that asking that many questions costs them a lot of money to do the research, so they will just deny it. It tends to be, if you ask maybe 1, 2, or 3 questions, that you will get an answer. And if you make those kind of simplistic questions rather than complicated questions. But anyway, that was refused. They wouldn't allow that to be answered. So his question 2 in another attempt was, since being installed, how many criminal convictions have there been in Northern Ireland as a direct result of ANPR use? And that was refused also. So question 3, a little bit has been answered here, and this is question 1. Other than the PSNI, which is Police of Northern Ireland, who else can access the information stored on the database? And question 2, how many of these types of cameras have been installed in Northern Ireland to date? Question 3, what planning permission was sought for the erection of these cameras? Now the answer to that is kind of interesting, so I click on number 3 and see what it's got to say. Okay, here's the Freedom of Information Act request, and I'll read it out to you. Answer to question 1, which was, who else can use the information stored on the database? And the answer is, only suitable trained and authorised PSNI Northern Ireland staff access the ANPR database. However, police in Northern Ireland share the relevant information with other law enforcement agencies to help prevent and detect crime, which basically means then, as we suspect, anybody that wants to access this information, provided they are, quote, doing it for legal reasons, can get access to the information. All they've got to do is kind of say why they want it. So that means that the council can access it, that Customs and Excise can access it, that anybody in any law enforcement body, immigration, the tax office, the job centre, anybody that wants to find out information about you could do so from this database. Okay. Answer to question 3, which is, what planning permission is sought for the erection of these cameras? Interesting, this one. It says planning permission is not required for the erection of these cameras, as approval to available exemption from the Department of Regional Development has been obtained. So what that means is in Northern Ireland, which is basically going to be operating under pretty much the same rules as the UK, because Northern Ireland is like the UK and is still part of the UK. So basically Northern Ireland doesn't require any planning permission to put these cameras up. So therefore you can imagine in the UK that they're going to do them anywhere they want, and they're going to hide them anywhere they want. Okay, and question two, how many types of cameras have been installed in Northern Ireland to date? And they refuse to basically answer that question because they say public interest is that it's against terrorism, so they don't want to sort of reveal the information. So basically, so some other questions. Let's have a quick look and see. Right. What steps have been taken in Northern Ireland to inform the public that data has been taken and stored on the database for several years? Okay, answer to question 4 coming up. Right, let's just scroll it back so you can see it. This is the answer to question 4. Okay, question 1. Nationally, there have been regular press releases by the Association of Police Officers, Chief Police Officers, and the National Police Improvement Agency, and details are also on the NPIA internet site. There have been a number of articles prepared for various publications such as Police Review, and various police forces have fully cooperated with the making of TV programs featuring the use of ANPR cameras. ACPO and NPIA are very keen to ensure the public of the use of these types of cameras. Well, I suppose what they mean by that is these sort of police camera action programs where they show, that people have been picked up on the cameras. So what they're saying is that people have been made aware that these cameras are actually there, but they just don't tell people where they are. So basically it's let the public beware. If you're aware of these TV programs, if you watch these TV programs, then you would be aware of the use of these cameras. But other than that, unless newspapers have decided to make a feature of these cameras and what they do, then it's up to you to find out. So the locations of these cameras, which is highlighted here, that was refused. They will not allow the locations to be ascertained. And how much money has been spent on advertising in the last few years has been answered. I know they answered that question by saying that they have spent zero money in actually telling the public about what these cameras mean. So unless you have a television and unless you read the newspapers, you will not know about these cameras and their the fact that they're there. So you have to have a television and you have to read the newspapers in order to find out anything about these. They're not going to make it in any way, shape or form available as information which is given out to members of the public to find out what's going on. This is an interesting one. Question 5. Part 1 of question 5 is, what are the total number of ANPR images that were flagged as vehicles of interest from installation? Question 2. How long is the information on the ANPR cameras held on their databases? And question 3, what is the total number of images recorded and processed by the ANPR system from installation? Now, if we click on that, we'll get the answer to this. So, question 1, how many vehicles were flagged as vehicles of interest for installation? The Northern Ireland Police, if you can believe this, say they do not hold the total number of ANPR images that were flagged as vehicles of interest from installation. That's bollocks. That is total bollocks. They hold the information. Of course they hold the information. They simply do not want to let this person know that they hold the information. That's bollocks, right? Question 2, how long is the information on ANPR cameras held on the database? It says then, the ANPR reads are retained for 2 years in line with Association of Chief Police Officer policy, and any hits which are retained on the database are held for 5 years in line with ACPO policy. So if you're car is flagged up as not having insurance, or maybe not having its tax, even if that is incorrect and you did have tax or you did have insurance, if the system is wrong and it holds up that you were flagged on the system, it will be retained for 5 years. Okay, and answer 3 to question 3, which is, what is the total number of images recorded and processed by the ANPR system from installation? And it says they do not hold the total number of images recorded or processed by the ANPR system from installation. Well, that's bollocks, because they will hold a database and they will know how many of the hits they've had and how many hits have been deleted, because the system will hold a total log. Of course it will. All systems like this hold a total number of images taken log and a total number of hits log. This is crazy to say that they don't, and so they say that they don't hold that information. Now, my interest in why they have these things, and I mean, I sent them a letter for freedom of information, and I got told, we do not hold this information. Basically, there are no speed cameras. Information is held by Wiltshire Police. They do not hold the information of where the speed cameras are, and they do not have any information relating to how many speed cameras that are manned. There's no information held on that. Okay, and hidden or unadvertised ANPR pole cameras which are unmanned, and they basically say they will not give any information as to how many there are and where they are, as they believe this to be a terrorist threat. And this was signed by Squiggle, who is the forced disclosure decision maker. You see, they do not want you to know who the person who answered your question is, so you cannot write back to them. You have to write back to them in the vague sense of forced decision maker. You are not allowed to know the name of the person who is the forced decision maker, because they deem this to be that the person who has looked into this for you now has information which they do not want you to know who they are, so you couldn't come and question them further. You have to write to them by letter, and they will be vague. So basically, these people are acting like intelligence operatives, in so much as their names are not allowed to be known. So they're police officers who we're not allowed to know the names of. So I think that goes against police policy, in so much as if you request the name of a police officer, they're meant to give it to you, but not if they are the forced decision maker. You're not allowed to know who they are. So this is yet again police operating outside, it would appear, legal remit. And also, the reason I'm so interested in these ANPR cameras is because I used to get so much shit years ago when I was looking into military bases and writing about them. I used to get stopped all the time. And I wondered how this was happening. Why was I getting stopped all the time? And obviously it's because cars have got electronic systems, and these electronic cameras on the side of roads were feeding this information back, and they would know where you were, and they would send out cars to follow you, and then they would stop me. And I was getting stopped and harassed and told that I had done things wrong which I hadn't, and I was in court all the fucking time for things that the police were making up about me, and I was getting charged, and basically fucking screwed for, things I hadn't done. And this was happening all the time. And that's why I don't like these systems, because, they're basically used to abuse people who are just looking into things, and they'll put a little flag on the system saying, if this car is seen anywhere, stop him all the time, stop him and harass him. And they won't admit to that being the case, but I am living fucking proof that once they put you on that fucking system, as they stop and harass the fucker, right, they will stop and harass you all day fucking long. And therefore, that's why I don't like these systems, because they're not always used to just catch criminals. They're also used to harass people that the state doesn't like. So there you go. That's why I think these systems should be monitored, and I think people should have the right to know where they are, these things, so they can stop the harassment from the police. And so thanks very much for watching.